So Rome Portal is a plugin, an extension for Chrome that I built. My main idea behind it was to just make it a little bit easier to explore Rome databases, and also just see a lot more visualizations to make it a little bit easier to understand what is exactly happening in our database. So once you have the extension installed, it shows up here, or you can have a keyboard shortcut to toggle this on or off. And this essentially is the Rome Portal UI with a lot of search options. The simplest thing is just to search for anything over here. So if I type literature, it's just going to search for all the blocks which mention the word literature, and it'll immediately show me. And this is for the entire Rome Book Club graph, all the blocks that mention literature. So that's 1,351 results, and they're all shown here. They're all sorted by time frequency. So this was 1 minute ago that literature was referenced in this page. This was 3 minutes ago. So I can keep scrolling down on this list and see exactly all the times and when this particular word was mentioned. I could also click the pages that are related to literature, which mention them. They're here as well. So what we can do, what I'll do is I'll explore what happened over the last week in this book club database. So the way I would do that is in this from field, I'll just say something like 7 days ago. So what I'm saying is just show me all the blocks, because I have not put anything in the search field, right? I've just said 7 days ago. So I'm just saying show me all the blocks that have been changed or that have been added over the last 7 days. So these are the results, 4,959 results. And again, all those blocks are instantly here. I can click on a block and it'll immediately take me to that block as well. And I can also see the pages that were created over the last 7 days. So these are all the pages that have been created over the last 7 days as well. Now I have some visualizations to make it easier to understand this, because this is like 5,000 results, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So one thing you can do, and I'll go to the graph one a bit later, but I'll start with the time one. So one view is the time view. That shows that over the last 7 days, how many blocks were added every single day. So this just gives an idea of how active this book club was on a daily basis. Of course, I can, if I can dive deep down, I can click on a single day, for example. I can click on November 17th, and immediately the from and till dates got updated to November 17th. So now I'm only seeing the blocks that were edited on that particular day. So let me just get it back to 7 days ago once again and go back to my older view. So now I'm back to the 7-day view again. And once again, it's showing me everything that happened over the last 7 days. Of course, if I make it something bigger, like 21 days, there's too much information to show. I can't, the graph looks a little bit messy with 21 days. So in that case, I don't show all the days. It's going to go by week number. So now if I said 21 days ago, now it's going to show me every single week, week 45, week 46, week 47, the amount of activity in each week. And then of course I can click on that week, and that gives me back to the last 7 days again. As you saw, the from and till dates got updated once again, and now I can see again how it was used over the last 7 days. Now I can go to references, and this is all the pages that have been mentioned the most across these blocks. So I can see that literature notes, for example, has been referenced or mentioned 58 times. Of course, I can click on it and see what those exact mentions are. So now it's going to just filter by mentions. Let me take this out again and go back to references. And now it's showing me all the references over the last 7 days. I can also go to compare usage trends, and I can see how different pages have been, I can compare different pages. For example, I can say that, let me see how Zettelkasten compares to literature notes. And this shows that, for example, on days that, like November 17th, literature note was used once, but Zettelkasten was used 16 times. Whereas on November 18th, Zettelkasten was used 5 times and literature was used more times. So it sort of kind of shows me that on days where Zettelkasten was used more number of times in this graph. Literature notes was used less often, or the times when literature notes, for example, today, literature notes is being used a lot, and Zettelkasten is not being used so much. So this you can compare any pages or blocks or that have been used over time, and also this immediately shows you a frequency of the number of times different pages or blocks have been mentioned. So it will give you more comparisons. I can also go to the pages view. This shows me within all these results, within my time period, what are the actual pages where the blocks have been edited the most. So this is different from references. References was pages which were mentioned in my blocks, and this is pages which have actually had blocks inside edited. So for example, this was the page that was the most active page over the last 7 days. I can of course click on this page, and then it shows me all the results, all the changes that happened on this one page over this time period. And let me take this out again. Of course, now it's showing only one page because I had filtered by one page. Once I remove the filter, it shows me all the other pages again. And that's the thing, these views are always live, right? So for example, if I say like, show me everything that mentions literature notes, right? My results got updated to only blocks that contain literature notes. But now if I go to references, now I'm seeing a different list of references. Now I'm seeing, along with literature notes, what are the other pages that are mentioned the most. So as example, willpower is mentioned twice when literature notes is mentioned in a block. So I can click on willpower, and now it shows me pages which are sorted, which have literature notes and willpower. And when I go to references, now I can see that along with willpower, what are the other pages that are mentioned the most. So this is just, you can really keep playing around, and there's a lot of, it's all interactive. You can always click on the graphs to get more ideas. You can also go to words, and this shows which are the actual individual words that are most popular in your graph. So as an example, what would make me curious, for example, is that this word fleeting, for example, that has been used 140 times, and I'm curious why this has been used 140 times. So I can click on it, and immediately the word fleeting was added to my search box. So once this word has been added, my search results are going to be updated. All of the other graphs are going to be updated. So now fleeting, so what are the pages that mention fleeting the most? What are the references? What are the pages which have the most number of references which contain fleeting? That has been updated. The time period of the way the word fleeting was mentioned over the last 7 days. So this is all updated again. Now I have results which contain fleeting, and interestingly, now my words are all the blocks which have the word fleeting. What are the other words that are used the most often along with fleeting? So notes has been used 157 times along with the word fleeting, but also, for example, process has been used 18 times. So I'm curious why fleeting and process has been used so many times. So I can click on processes, and this also got added to my search query. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to filter for fleeting and processes. So once again, all the graphs have been updated. The results are showing fleeting and processes. And now if I go to words, I can see that when these two words are mentioned, which are the other words that go most common, most number of times along with these two words. Or which are the pages that mention fleeting and processes. So these are the pages that mention these two words, or what are the references that go along with it. So this is just some of the simpler graphs that I have, but it's super interactive, and there's a lot to just play around, and you can just, it's endless, the amount of insights that you can gain through it. Fine. Sorry?
You going, Darren? Yeah.
Yeah, I can now go to the graph view. So the graph view is a little bit complex, and usually it loads faster, but because of the amount of activity in this database, it's a little bit slower to load, but it should just show up. And yeah, so now we have the graph view loaded, right? And of course, there's so much here that it's a little bit, I mean, it doesn't make sense. This view doesn't make a lot of sense. You're just seeing all the pages that are connecting to each other over the last 7 days. The 2D view is actually a little bit more helpful because you can zoom in and zoom out, and it actually sort of makes a little more sense. But a better way to understand the graph view is first to go to this option called fly to page and see what are the pages that have the most number of connections. So maybe I can go to literature notes here, which has about 58 connections, and I've flown over to literature notes, just that side. So let it load again. Yeah. Also, actually, in the 3D view for really big graphs, this is a faster view when I say show spheres.
Excellent, Dharam.
Yeah.
I think you've blown a few people's minds.
I hope so. I can just take a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
So when you find something interesting, the way to actually make sense of this graph is to actually click on it. So now literature notes gets added as a linked page over here. So it's not a search query. Search query only means where literature notes are in my blocks, but linked page means anything that's nested across or anything that's inside this page is going to find everything. It's connecting everything that's nested or inside the page. So now I've added literature notes as my linked page, right? So now the graph view again filters down, and this time the connections, the graph starts to make a little more sense. Now it's not that complex. I can just see what are the connections with literature notes, right? The things that are connected with literature notes, those are the ones that show up. And also the graph, for example, it's not like a 1 degree or 2 degree or 3 degree graph. The number of degrees on this graph are the number of times that something connects to literature notes. As an example, November 23, actually I'll take this example. For example, like Darren, right? It says that there's a connection of literature notes and Darren and Steve Pinker. But I'm sure Darren, if I click on him, there's a lot more connections going around him. But I'm not showing all the other connections. I'm just showing this one person because this is still connected to literature notes through indentation, through nested indentation. Similarly, all the other pages as well, right? The reason why I show second degree connections is I only show second degree connections which has some association to literature notes. For example, if I click on November 22nd, it's going to actually show me a lot more results. It's not just going to show me three results. So there's just a lot more exploration in the graph view as well. And yeah, mostly that's it. As you update or you click something in the graph view, all the other graphs, all of the other charts are updated at the same time. The results are updated at the same time. So there's always a live view of what's going on in this over here. So,
excellent.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, Dharam, I might just jump in. I think Andy mentioned in the chat, hey, can you tweet individual blocks? Is that something that I think I've seen?
Yeah, you can actually. Whenever you find something interesting, I've just added like a simple button over here. If you just click on it, it creates a tweet of this block, and then you can tweet it out.
Very cool.
So it's pretty much. Another nice use case for this, because this extension works across all Roam graphs, one of my frequent uses is just to go on the Roam help database, which is sort of the Roam public help database, and I just click recently edited. So it just gives me the blocks that were edited on the Roam public graph over the last 3 days. So this is just something I do every once in a while to see what's the latest changes, that's happening around in the Roam help database recently. So